This is the Fleet Europe podcast, hosted by Roberto Van Buten. Today's topic, the strength of diversity in the fleet and mobility sector. Introducing today's guests, Merry Marwig, the VP of Sales Marketing at Privacy for Cars, Ökşan Öztürk, Managing Partner at Filo Broker, and Linda Ellis, the UCB Fleet Lead Americas. Enjoy the episode.
Hello and welcome to this podcast of Fleet Europe, and today we discuss the need for diversity in the fleet and mobility sector. And as you know, normally I will be hosting these podcasts with my co-host Steven Schuss, but not this time because I have three powerful ladies here with me today, three guests to discuss the need for more diversity, and that are Merry Marwig from Privacy for Cars, Ökşan Öztürk from Filo Broker, and Linda Ellis from UCB. Yeah, thanks for being with us here today. Well, first let's hear a little bit who you are and what you do at your companies. Mary, to start with you. You are Vice President of Sales at Privacy for Cars.
Vice President of Sales Marketing, actually. My job is to help communicate the story of privacy in the automotive and mobility sector. So what we do is help people understand the data collection, use, and practices of their cars as it pertains to personal data. And we also help people delete personal data when those cars change. Yeah,
because that's a tricky topic, right? That's often forgotten.
That's correct, and we're trying to change that.
Yeah, very good. On your LinkedIn, by the way, I saw that you only mentioned the first letter of your last name. Is that also due to privacy reasons? Or?
It is, actually.
Yeah.
I set my privacy standards very high on all of my socials. I am most active on LinkedIn, so I do have a very robust network on there, but I set my settings high so that you can't search me as easily, but you can connect with me if we are in a similar community. So I'm happy to be part of the global fleet community here today. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Ökşan, you work or are co-founder of Filo Broker, and that's a fleet management company. In short, what do you do as a company?
Nice to meet you, guys. I'm managing partner of Filo Broker. Filo Broker established almost 10 years ago by two entrepreneur women, me and her partner. After we are working in a local fleet companies, we saw a gap in industry and we tried to establish our companies. What we are doing, we are providing long-term car leasing consultants for the corporate companies. We are not a decision maker, we just manage all the process. And we are independent, not representative of any distribution or brands. And we just try to save our customers. And we have a standard business model that is cover all the company's needs and expectation. But you can imagine it's the kind of tailor-made consultancy. You can easily adapt their needs. And we have a critical position between customers and suppliers. We are taking responsibilities of center office, not the drivers. And in this 10 years, we manage more than 150 customers. We touch more than 15,000 cars. And it's come from our experience.
Then our third guest, Linda Ellis from UCB. You won the Fleet Europe Award for Fleet Innovation Manager of the Year. That was the award that you won. For your focus on innovative ways and means to reduce the CO2 emissions of UCB's fleet. In short, how did you do that?
Wow, that's in a short. In short, how long do you have? Really, we just really focused. First off, it's an honor to be on the panel with all of you, and we are a global sustainability-focused company. And this year, we really wanted to, or actually the last 2 years, we really wanted to push hard to reduce our CO2 emissions. So we're represented in about 40 countries. I manage the Americas, which is the US, Canada, Brazil, and Mexico, for those that are represented for UCB. The way that I did that was basically partnering with our business partners that were in that space, green and sustainability, making sure that we were scalable in those countries. As some of you know on the panel, Brazil and Mexico are pretty hard to get those sustainability goals. So we became super creative in ways that we could reduce outside of the actual physical car. But how could we change the behavior of our employees to also be conscious of reducing CO2? So presented some ideas to the team, and they thought it was pretty good. So we got the award.
Yeah, I would say so. And we thought it was pretty good too.
Yeah.
Because you received the award, right? So very good, very good. Then for now, I want to immediately jump in our topic of the day. And that is, of course, diversity strengthens the fleet sector. Well, maybe just for me, because I'm the only male here at the table. So you can now correct me if I'm wrong. I thought we were doing pretty good already in diversity. Or is that my perception of that? Is it correct or not? Do we still have a long way to go before there is really equality and diversity in the fleet sector?
I think it's one of those things that the target may keep moving by saying you're doing pretty good. That's in reference to, are you saying region-based? Are you saying industry-based? So I feel like there's always room for improvement.
Yeah.
And one of the old adages is there's strength in numbers. And I feel like we should add there's strength in numbers and diversity as well, because I remember probably a decade ago, there were not as many women in this space for fleet industry. So I think the business itself, the industry itself has moved forward in innovation, and also the inclusivity has moved forward in innovation. So if that's what you mean by...
Yeah, right. I don't mean that's it's not far from 50-50. No, that's not what I mean, but that we are moving forward. Maybe that's the better way to say it.
To agree.
To add to your point, Linda, having a goal without a metric is like a map without a scale. You can see where you're going, and I agree with you. We are going in the right direction, and some of the data that we've seen from Global Fleet has come out to support that. But where are we going? What are we measuring? How do we track that? How do we make sure we're getting to the metrics that actually support this initiative? So that's my take on that. Right direction, but let's start measuring.
And how can we measure it?
Well, there are a number of things. How are you doing in hiring? How are you doing in retention? How are you doing in promotions? Those are things that are easy to measure. Then there's also the feelings. How do your staff feel? Do they feel supported? Do they feel like they can bring the innovative ideas up to promote that business? So those all be measured.
Yeah. What do you think?
I also believe that we have a long way to go. After Global Fleet's announced survey results, I saw that there is still 30% of women think that there is a glass ceiling of managing position. Normally, I don't like to be a number of KPI. I was born in a very modern family. My mother was more than 35 years old, and my mother and father share everything in our families. In this century, doing this survey and being a number is next mistake. But I know we have to show something and we have to prove something for awareness. And that kind of organization, strong organization, inspiring women in fleet is very important part of awareness in the industry.
Yeah,
I believe.
Yeah. Do you also recognize it for yourself? You mentioned it before we were recording the podcast, that you sometimes have the feeling that you are, how do you say it, treated differently than men in some circumstances?
Actually, not for promotion or management position, but when I visit my customers, when they see a woman on the table, first of all, I can understand that they looking at me, how can you understand more than me about car? And one day my customer asked me, have you ever seen any burnt clutch? I said, what does it, why we are related in our business? I thought that, yes, we have a long way to go. You cannot see any industry, any survey about men.
Great point.
Yeah.
Great point. And I really like the reference where you were growing up and you said you're from a very modern family, because I mean, no one says when I grow up I want to be a fleet manager, but but your thought of how your parents handled just normal day-to-day decisions probably drives a lot of what you do now.
It doesn't issue in a normal why woman is working in not.
I love that.
Yeah. It's also how you were raised.
To your point, though, Linda, also, I never grew up thinking that I would be a privacy professional. So I am first a privacy professional working in automotive, and I got into privacy because I have firsthand experience of what it's like to be discriminated, harassed, and stalked by a fellow coworker. That really scared me. And then when I learned about privacy as a profession, I thought, wow, I have the experience firsthand to know what that feels like, to feel out of control about the data about me that people have access to, and I wanted to make a change. So that's how I got into my career, from a gender-based issue. It's great.
By the way, hey, you're also a member of our Inspiring Women in Fleet community, and the goal Caroline mentioned some time ago to me is that actually in 2030 it shouldn't be necessary to have an Inspiring Women in Fleet, because it's the diversity is settled. So I don't know if it's the right English sentence. You do, but do you think it's achievable in 2030 or?
No. For me,
We will try our best.
It's all up to me.
I like challenge.
yeah. Wouldn't it be wonderful to live in a world where we didn't need to do those things, right? But
I have said that being a part of this organization is very important for me. Create a collaboration and project. It's challenged me. It makes me happy. And as I said before, that kind of organization is very important, our awareness. It helps us to increase the numbers. And when I think this is the fourth organization here, and I missed one of them. And the event has been very good opportunities for networking, sharing knowledge, and learning about the new trends of our industries. And I am sure it helps the numbers.
Yeah. And what so I think we put it on the agenda, so to say. I think that's very good. And you put it on the agenda, actually. What steps should be taken from this point to achieve that ultimate goal? What do you think?
One of the things I think is so important with community, and what the Global Fleet Community for Women can do, is provide both mentorship and sponsorship. So mentorship is, again, that sharing, bringing younger professionals in and showing them what is happening in the industry today, what's happening in the industry tomorrow, and what you can do about it. But then the second step that is critical is the sponsorship, getting the actual jobs, right? So someone's saying, you know what, I know Linda, let's tap her for this project. She would be great because I know her, she does this, and she's an award-winning decarbon fleet manager. And these sorts of things are very important. So not just mentorship, but sponsorship.
And also, as a Filo Broker, we have a fleet academy every quarter for all the purchasing and fleet management in our countries. In our agenda, we will do something about women. For some differentiation, we are working on it.
Yeah.
I think it's important. It's diversity of thought. Sometimes just in our everyday lives or our career, we get a one tunnel type thought process. And I know that organizations like the Inspiring Women in Fleet help you to kind of expand, like you're multi-dimensional at this point, because I don't know what a burnt clutch looks like either. But I guarantee when I leave, I'm going to Google it, and see what it looks like. But, just kind of thinking beyond your space. And I work in the pharmaceutical community, but even collaborating with people outside of that helped me to bring in a diversity of thought, kind of a multi-dimensional. One of the reasons why I was voted the innovation manager, because I could think beyond just pharmacy. I thought about it from the driver concept, and we were able to propel that program forward.
Yeah. I was thinking of an analogy before we came today about what DEI actually means, and thinking about that in the mobility sector. And one of the things I was thinking about is diversity is think about cars, all the different types of cars we have. We have compact cars, SUVs,
Correct.
trucks, huge trucks, transport trucks, medical trucks, all sorts of different trucks that do different jobs and have different purposes, right? And then with the equity, it's like, let's give each one of these vehicles the maintenance that it needs. You would not give an EV gasoline. You would
Correct.
not fill a sports car
Great
with the
point.
same air tire pressure as a big moving truck, right? So you give these vehicles what they need to perform at their best, right? And then with the inclusion, it's about the infrastructure. Can the roads handle a sports car? Can the roads, are the roads able to have big trucks drive under the bridges? What about the traffic lights? So allowing all these different types of vehicles to partake in the transport system. And if we can extrapolate that to people in our profession, all of the different perspectives that each one of us brings, making sure that we are all getting what we need to succeed, and then have the infrastructure to support that we're all participating is so important.
Yeah, I love that point because most strong companies have a very diverse client and customer base. So you need that in order to really and truly serve your client and customer base. You need that diversity of thought.
Yeah, but do you still have the feeling, or maybe it is even true, that as a woman you have to work twice as hard as men to reach the same position in I think it's the word is called sighing, right?
Is it glass ceiling? Is that?
Yeah. Is that a glass ceiling? Is that a form of that?
I think what I've experienced, and there's a term used in the U.S. as a double minority, as a black woman. It's sometimes it can be, and I'm not speaking to my company because I think they do a great job on diversity, but sometimes you almost have to prove, before you came in the room, they had already determined that women are not better at cars. And that had nothing to do with your acumen or career or just because you hadn't seen a burnt clutch. It just was their perception. This is why before, when we were talking about what to measure and how to measure and how far we are and so on and so forth, it's not normally the metrics or the industry. It's going to be the person, the human aspect that we have to worry about. And long story longer, I think I think we still do have to worry about. I think for us, we almost have to prove that we can do the job before we're trusted to do the job. And I think that's just a kind of the burnt clutch theory, how you call it, because it was already determined. It didn't matter,
Yeah. I'm glad that we found a new theory
Yes.
in this podcast, the burnt clutch theory.
Scientific.
Yeah, let's remember that. But don't you have to feel like you're saying that your country is doing good on diversity? I would say, and that's on me, that the current administration maybe throws the United States a little bit back, to use an euphemism, in diversity. By the way, also in Europe, we see the same thing happening, that conservative parties are getting more and more votes. Do you think that's a risk, that's dangerous? Do you see that as a big threat for diversity at this moment?
I think what the idea, some of what the idea is, and because it's a very sensitive subject to folks who have been, fighting for that opportunity and position. I think the idea is, you mentioned earlier, what the inspired women of fleet not needing it or being at a position where we don't need it anymore. I don't think it will ever go away because the human aspect is there. The burnt clutch theory again, it's there, and it's going to be there. So strides in that area. It does make me very sad that we would come away from some of those projects because I feel like some folks will be left behind in the industry that aren't at a certain point.
I am co-founder of my company since 10 years, so I don't face this devastating. When I think about before my corporate life, I just focus on the target and job description. I never it never comes to my mind the diversification. I just focus on this. What is the target? What is the job description? And go forward. I don't want to deal with some emotional things. It makes me down.
Yeah. Why is that?
Because it's a waste of time. I know my job description.
Yeah.
Look, it doesn't matter if it's man or woman or someone else.
May I ask a question?
Yeah, of course. No. Ask her. Go ahead.
Just in that vein, when you heard about, when you heard the perception of the person who mentioned, what could you possibly know? How did you approach that with that person that basically said, I know you don't know as much as me about the industry of cars.
Could you repeat this question?
The question that the person gave you about the burnt clutch. Yeah. How did you approach that? And
my essay.
yes.
I try to prove how can I know it doesn't relate about the burnt clutch. I just try to feel them to I know my business.
Yes.
Yes. And the point is, I always, this is my clue in the interview. The customer will check my car visits again. If she check, or he check, I can understand. I am good in this meeting.
Yeah, I understand. We keep on coming back to the burned clutch. Very good, very good.
You will change topic.
And that actually leads to an interesting point too, because we're talking about these government initiatives and taking away government initiatives, but that doesn't leave you from continuing them, right? And you said the people may be left behind, and I would say the people who are going to be left behind are the people that don't embrace diversity, that don't continue on the path, because they're going to be missing out on talented people that are going to drive their companies forward. So the missing out, let's reframe that as the companies that are not thinking this through. But then to your point, I want to say we think about B2B companies, B2C companies, but we all work in an age-to-age world, human to human. And what you were able to do was to have that moment where there was a conflict that then shows someone how they can be better by being yourself and the professional you are. So those human interactions are so important to not just you, but to all of us.
Yeah, but what indeed what you were just saying, that I realized that, let's say that someone would send it to me about the burnt clutch. I wouldn't mind. I don't know that. Sorry.
No.
So, but it's I think already a point that you say. No, I need to know that to show that.
I'm better than you.
I'm better than you. Yes. So that's actually also an answer to my earlier question, that as a woman you have to work maybe twice as hard to reach the same as a man, because you want to prove that you know. And I would say, well, yeah, I don't know that. I know other things. So, by the way, I was just thinking, because you thank you for that, by the way, to also search for the parallel with our fleet and mobility industry. And now, of course, it's all about a corporate responsibility, greenification, lowering CO2 emissions. Let's say, and it's true, of course, that it's still a male-dominated world. Let's say it was 50-50, completely diverse. Would we see a different approach in that greenification if we had more equality on C-level positions in companies?
I would say personally, yes, because what I do professionally actually supports ESG. We delete data out of cars, and that is a standard for e-waste. That's not happening in the industry, so literally just by having this talk today, I am able to share that message and do that. So absolutely, I think it would be.
Yeah. What do you think, Ökşan?
I believe that diverse leadership teams in terms of gender, socioeconomics, or ethnicity background brings different point of view and experience for the companies. And it's a big chance for, I think, for reputation and also development for companies. I believe that more diversity, more creativity.
What do you think, by the way, that your role is in when it comes to diversity in your own companies? Because you're working on in fleet and mobility. Is there a role for you to play as well internally in your company itself?
Yes, I do a lot of mentorship. And we internally in our company, we have a lean in by Sheryl Sandberg so that women could be more comfortable in leadership roles. So we constantly try to edify and empower our employees who are either in the Black and brown community or just, feeling like they're in a dominated space by males. So yes, I think my role is to actively get involved as a representation of that needed space to have that discussion.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, we are a small company. It's not too much crowded, but we believe in diversification.
How many people are working in your company?
5.
Okay, so
5 executive partners.
yeah.
All of
Small but mighty.
senior.
Yeah, I would say
Small
so.
but
Yeah.
mighty.
A lot of cars to manage with such a small group of people. That's very impressive.
Most of us women.
Oh, that makes sense.
And all of us know burn clutch.
You give a presentation.
Yes, we have a start from the education from burn clutch.
Now you have the burnt clutch theory. That's found on.
Yeah, I think we're going to hear that more often. Because I think it's a good metaphor.
My company,
Yep.
I wanted to answer because this may be a little bit different. I have paid class seconds at other companies and I've learned something, a different strategy. So how can I change myself? And so now I go where I am celebrated and not where I am tolerated. And I have found a fantastic company that celebrates my strengths. Gender has not really played into my role at this company. It has in the past where I've not been taken seriously or not been given projects or what have you. But at this one, I am free to do what I do best. And again, it's about that maintenance analogy that I talked about earlier. Give me what I need to be my best self. And I'm there and I'm very happy.
That's great.
Just asking for a friend, of course, but what should, let's say, 50 white male never do again when it comes to these kind of discussions?
Can you repeat the question?
What?
As most, do you understand the question, right?
Yes, I do.
Maybe you can answer, or maybe rephrase my question in proper English for me.
Oh no, you did a fantastic job.
Thank you.
These would be hacks for I think it's white males 25 plus ever to do in the space of diversity.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think you made a great point. Go where you're celebrated and not tolerated, and sometimes it takes a lot for an individual to get there, especially if they've had some bad experiences. So I would say that to be open, I think it's very easy sometimes to interchange acumen with entitlement. So what they should not do is isolate. And they can be great ambassadors. Men can be amazing ambassadors for this space, for the space of diversity and diversity of thought. And that's one of the things that's really critical to their success, because externally you're not going to find all white males buying your product, or you're not going to be in front of an all white male audience every time you go in to pitch an idea. So it's actually a help for them as well.
Especially for Turkish markets, I don't face any kind of situation. So the main problem is Turkish market is most of the companies don't have fleet manager. Generally, administrator and purchasing department try to deal with fleet. So first of all, the change will start from Turkish market.
Yeah.
They need a fleet manager.
Yeah. Okay.
Because they are dealing with the other stuff. At the same time, they deal with maybe 300 cars.
Yeah.
The focus is different.
Yeah, I understand.
See.
Yeah. So, but then you have like a green field, And you can support diversity where every company that needs a fleet manager, that you make sure
Of course.
it will be diverse.
I understand your question now.
Thank you.
Linda. I would say, going back to a point I made earlier about us operating in an H-to-H world, you're always dealing with another human being at the end of any business deal. I would say don't assume that if you're working with another man that they have the same perspective as you, because I've worked with a number of fantastic allies who completely support and mentor and sponsor me. So I would go into all these meetings not assuming that it's the good old boys club anymore, that there are a lot of advocate male men out there, and that if you are an advocate male, that you can speak up in those types of private conversations and advocate for what you believe in, which is equality, equity, and diversity in your company.
All right, thank you very much. Ladies, unfortunately, time is running out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but we should do this sometime again.
Right.
I want to go to the final episode, and that's our closing notes. And that's actually no more that we really want to know what's on your business agenda. Of course, that's interesting for fleet managers to know what are you heading to, what's on your agenda, what's your scope for the coming month. Linda?
Mine is basically just impactful positioning with all of the fun things that are going on in the Americas right now. Don't be jealous. But with the tariffs and the retaliatory taxes that are coming right now, I would just say that I don't want fleet managers, people in the fleet space to sell themselves short. We've survived pandemics and wars and shortages. And this, to me, is just another opportunity for us to show up and be in our space that we're confident in. So that is where I'm at on my business agenda, and it should be fun. It should be a good ride, right? So we'll definitely make some strides this year that I think will be impactful, because what we see over branches of fleet over, that's great, but what I'm focusing on is the root of the problem, which a lot of us can't see and we don't know, very unknown things with the increases. So I'm more than willing to partner with dynamic people in the space. I love that business segment that you're talking about privacy, because it's definitely one of our issues. But just continuing to share and positioning myself to be more impactful and cost effective.
All right, thank you, Ökşan.
As I told you, we have a Fleet Academy program every quarter. We try to customize for women. And in our agenda, we will create a project with inspiring women in fleets. We are working on it. It's Caroline.
Very good. We're going to hear more about it.
Yes, it's exciting to us.
Yeah, indeed. Well, thank you. Merry?
As a security and a privacy professional, I've been looking at the mobility sector from my lens, as we were talking about lenses earlier. And I am announcing a new white paper that I've just written along with my team. It's for fleet managers, their security teams, and their procurement teams to help them tell the story of privacy, put something into action. To me, words are great, but actions help you align those things. So I'm looking for people to meet, to share knowledge with, and to continue to build a community.
All right, very good. Very important topic as well, of course, privacy. So I want to thank you for joining me at this podcast.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And I want to thank our listeners. And of course, if you want to keep track on the latest news, follow fleeteurope.com or globalfleet.com. Thank you very much.